Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundy, what if I told you that the Edmonton Oilers are looking at actually buying on a goalie?
I wouldn't be shocked.
No?
For good
'Cause
reason.
They've been pretty adamant that they don't need to get a new goalie. The answer is in the locker room.
Yeah, but I think we're starting to finally reach that point where
Yeah,
you got to do something.
100%.
You know, I think that there's things outside of goaltending that need to be fixed there. But I think goaltending is one of them, and you got to start somewhere with trying to patch up the holes on on a team that I think has quite a few holes right now.
Yeah, absolutely. For those who don't know what we're talking about, it sounds like the Oilers are showing major interest so far in Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender Tristan Jarry. Nice comeback season for him so far. For a bit there, it looked like he might. He was almost a fringe NHL goalie for a little bit, and he's been fantastic this season. It's not shocking that teams are going to start knocking on the door for him.
Yeah, and I think it's also good for Pittsburgh where, anytime you have a contract that looks like it's, unmovable, you can't move it, and then there's now at least a chance that you can offload it, I think is always good, and especially good for Pittsburgh.
Especially if you get paid for it.
I didn't put it in here because I wanted to get your reaction, at least if you haven't. But we're still going to talk about it regardless.
This is the first time I read about it, so I probably haven't heard.
Have you heard about any other goaltenders rumored out there? Okay, perfect. So, and again, this is all rumor based. Is there, maybe some truth behind it? I personally do believe so. But it's rumored that St. Louis is, open to parting with Jordan Binnington.
Wow. Okay.
And it kind of makes sense. We already know that St. Louis tried to move Jordan Kyrou at the draft. They even had him in trade talks and were ready to move him. They just weren't going to get a return that they thought they wanted. And they're having a rough start to the year, so they're kind of looking to, retool, rebuild. They got to do something because the team they have right there, unfortunately, it's a fun team, but it's not good enough to win a cup. Binnington's only got 1 year left on his contract after this one. So it's rumored that St. Louis is open to moving Binnington because, it doesn't make sense to hold on to him and re-sign him if you're planning on rebuilding, retooling, whatever. As Calgary shows, having a goalie that can be good and get hot can really hurt you in that sense. So it sounds like Edmonton is interested in Binnington, which makes sense. But apparently they also are interested in a certain defenseman from St. Louis, and it sounds like it's Colton Parayko.
Yeah, I was going to assume it would be Colton Parayko.
But the thing is how do you do that if you're Edmonton? Because apparently, again, they're fully rumors, but people are saying there is truth behind it. If you're Edmonton, and again, it makes all the sense in the world to grab Parayko and Binnington like that.
Sure,
you desperately need that. But
you have to pay for those guys. It makes sense for every team in the league to go after McDavid. That doesn't mean they have the assets for it.
But especially for Edmonton, who's already kind of right up there against the cap.
Holy
And so
fuck.
If you're doing that, you're probably
how much cap space do they have? I just opened the Oilers cap wages page. Oh my god. No move, full no move, full no move, full no move, full no move, no trade, full no move. Good god. Yeah. And then after that, ELC. Like everyone's either on their entry level deal or has all the trade protection in the world. Good god.
How much cap space do they have currently?
$160,000 even.
Okay, so right there. So if you were going to go after Binnington, Parayko, you're going to probably, like, Stuart Skinner's going to be involved because you're going to send a goalie back to St. Louis, and it makes sense to have it be Skinner. And then you have to do Darnell Nurse, assuming he's willing to even wait to go to
as the goalie going back.
No, because you need to shed Skinner and his contract to make the money work, I imagine.
Probably.
So it would have to be Stuart Skinner and Darnell Nurse going to St. Louis. Now that's great for Edmonton, but that doesn't do anything for them. They're giving St. Louis basically negative assets in terms of overall. So
I
then
mean, but they do have a couple things that could be very enticing for the Blues, like
potentially. But how enticing? Because you have to first of all pay for Binnington and Parayko. Secondly, you now have to pay for them to just take Darnell Nurse.
Yeah.
So that now increases it even more.
I mean, you have to. We've been saying it, but you have to win soon as this Oilers team. They have this 3-year window. After that, fucking nothing matters there. And Stan Bowman can't look beyond 3 years, because if he doesn't win a cup there, he's not working there anymore, and teams are going to be very, very hesitant to sign him again. They've got a first in 27, a first in 28. Either of those are at least on the table. I don't know how much the Blues want a first 3 years from now, but at least the first from next year has got to have decent value. Both Matthew Savoie and he's not on their main roster. Isaac Howard.
Yeah, he's in the AHL right now.
Yeah, Isaac Howard and Matthew Savoie are two of their biggest, young prospects that are supposed to be fairly soon making the jump to the NHL, or fairly soon becoming like impact players at the NHL level. So I could definitely see St. Louis having a lot of interest in them. I guess the question is even if you have both of those guys and a first in there, is that equal to taking on Nurse's contract? You can definitely live with taking Jack Campbell, or not Jack Campbell. He's just on their LTIR.
Basically the same thing. Jack Campbell, Stuart Skinner,
giving up those guys.
Does it? I don't think it does. That's a thing.
That's a lot of stuff, and I don't think it's there yet.
Because there's nothing guaranteed, and I know like that thing with draft picks. St. Louis, pretty actually. I've quite liked their last few drafts, but there's nothing guaranteed in Howard or Savoie right now. And they've had looks in the NHL this year. They've been kind of rough. I don't know how much they've been necessarily scouting them, but again, I mean, if you're St. Louis and you're, pulling. That's kind of the first trigger you pull, and you're like, all right, it's we're full on rebuilding, like the season's lost basically if you do that. I don't know if that's a good enough return.
Honestly, I don't think it is. I'm looking and I'm trying to find any other prospects. Like, you can throw in the other picks, so now it's those two guys and 2 first rounders. I still don't think that's enough, because those picks you got to expect they're going to be later on in the first round, and there's a very good chance none of those guys end up playing in the NHL. And they don't really have any other guys that they've drafted outside those two in Howard and Savoie that teams would be high on. Some of them might be NHL players, but none of them look to be players that you trade a goalie like Binnington for, or these are two guys that are both most people have slated, especially Binnington, to play on Canada's Olympic team.
I got both. Yeah.
Like these guys are no joke. So it would have to be something else. I completely forgot that they had Connor Ingram as well. He's been playing in the minors.
And again, this is all very just hypothetical, because the bottom line is Darnell Nurse isn't waiving his no movement clause to go from Edmonton to St. Louis to rebuild there.
Yeah.
Why would he do that? There's nothing in that for him. Like, if I'm a Nurse and I would 100% take this route, I'd sit there and be like, hey, you know what? It maybe wasn't you guys currently here who gave me the contract. Bottom line is I was offered it. I took it. I'm staying. Like, why would I leave?
Completely within his rights. That he took, every player that has a full no move took less money to have that. You can always say, I don't need trade protection, and get more money.
Yeah.
And so he gave up money for that. It's completely within his right to not go anywhere.
Like, unless he's getting moved.
How bad has Matthias
Colorado
Ekholm
or Florida
this year? Ekholm hasn't been great for him, has he?
Starting to get better, though.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, still not like the Ekholm that they've had the last few years. And
do you think he's?
I still really like Ekholm, but I don't see him ever fully returning to that form.
Is Parayko an upgrade? Because Ekholm's 35. The odds he's gonna like keep getting much better is pretty slim. I definitely don't think he's gonna be what he was for them.
Mm-hmm.
The fall off's got to be on the horizon.
But again, even like what about Ekholm though? Like,
he has no trade protection.
But Ekholm's got that extension though.
Yeah, but
again, that still doesn't make the money work.
You don't think that's enough out? I'm not sure how much.
No, because Ekholm's making what, 6 and Skinner's 2.
He's making 6. Skinner is 2.6, so that's 8.6 coming off the books. Bringing in Parayko is 6.5 on his own. Binnington is 6, but he only has 2 years, so I could see them retaining half on Binnington.
But then you're Edmonton, then you still got to pay more. You're basically then paying the equivalent of what you would be before if it was just Darnell Nurse and you're not retaining.
Well, I don't think, if I'm going to retain your. I don't think you'd be paying as much as the Darnell Nurse situation, just because that one's bad.
But I still don't think Edmonton has to give up. If you want to go for one or the other, that's fine. But the two of them together, I just don't think they.
That's fair.
They have enough, or at least if from the St. Louis side, like if I'm St. Louis, why you're basically just making a trade for the sake of a trade that doesn't, I don't think, fully benefit you long term.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. And they might even have to get a third team in there, not even for the cap situation, but just to see if they can make moves with other teams to try and get the right type of assets. Because Edmonton has trade value. They just don't have very much trade value for what St. Louis wants, which is futures. And it makes sense because Edmonton shouldn't have a lot of futures. They need to win now. Yeah, those are two really helpful players if you're Edmonton. You'd like to get them both. You'd like to get at least one of them if you could, if they're on the table. Because, man, I'm sitting here going back and forth on which would help more. Like,
I think at the end of the day, probably Binnington. Just because you can put Parayko in, and Parayko, is just a very solid, stay-at-home kind of defensive defenseman. Can eat up minutes, block shots, whatnot. But there's still gonna be times when he's not out there, and we've seen times where teams are getting, Edmonton does give up a fair amount of high danger chance, but when they get the low ones, Skinner's still letting in some of those. And I feel like you're better off making the move for a goaltender where, how many times have we seen where Skinner lets one in, that shouldn't, and that just drains the team. Because now it's like they shouldn't have scored that. Now we got to go fight to get one back. And again, it's an offensive core that has kind of gotten depleted more and more over the years. I don't think it's gotten better. I think it's actually gotten worse.
I would agree with that.
That's demoralizing. That's frustrating. So I think you need a guy like Binnington who can make those easier saves and could potentially steal you a game or two, because Edmonton right now is probably going to need that at a couple points throughout the season. They're going to need their goalie to steal a game for them. And they're just not getting that.
Yeah, they're in a weird and a rough spot at the moment. Like, and there's always that chance that you go out and get Binnington, and like what's his stats on the season right now? Like,
not great. But again, the Blues themselves as a whole aren't very great this year, or at least have been struggling early on.
He has in 16 games an .881 save percentage. Like, there's a chance that, even if he improves some, last season in 56 games, he was 900 even. There's a chance that he's just a 900 goalie for you. And, we know damn well he can turn it on in those biggest moments, but at the same time, winning he wasn't great early on in the Four Nations. And the NHL playoffs are way longer than that entire tournament. Like, that entire tournament was the length of a short single playoff series. You have to win 4 sometimes very long playoff series. So, we know that he's been able to do it in the past, but it's also a gamble there.
But I guess you also have to look at it, right?
But it is those risks that they have to take because they can't.
I was gonna say you
just
have to.
run
You
it back.
you can't run it back with Skinner. As much as I do like Skinner, it's not gonna work. Yeah, you made it to 2 cup finals,
Yeah.
but you lost both. You're the exact
If
same
they can make the money work, I would hope they keep Skinner. If they can make the money work, I would rather them trade Pickard and bring in a guy to be their starter, because I think Skinner could be a fantastic backup. But when you're relying on him to be the main guy and be the main guy in playoff runs, he got him
It's
to
tough when you're up
back-to-back
against the
cup
cap, though.
finals, but
It's tough when you're up
it's
against the cap.
yeah, that's
And
if they can make the cap work. If they
yeah,
can't,
and then
he's not a guy they have to hold on to. If
Mm.
it's between Pickard or Skinner, and keeping Skinner means that they don't get Jordan Binnington, send him out the door. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, Bennington's kind of the only guy potentially out there. You look at a lot of other teams. The only other goalie that I've heard could maybe that's on an upper level, not kind of just around like a Stuart Skinner level, is UC Saros, and there's no way Edmonton's going to be able to make it that work with his contract and to give up the pieces to get him. He would be great in Edmonton. I'd love to see UC Saros.
That'd be interesting.
But again, you're still at that point where Nurse has to go because you need to move out. What I don't know what Saros is making, but it's like around 8 or 7.5 to like 8.5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I believe it's pretty.
So you got to open up that amount of money, and again, it's so it kind of seems like you could go with Jari, who's off to a hot start the year, but
Saros is making just under 8, 7.74.
So, I mean, Jari is there, and he's had a good start to the year. But again, if you're Edmonton and you got a window here where you have to win, otherwise you're done. Is Tristan Jari the guy? Especially with his contract, that's if you trade for him and it doesn't work, you could have another Jack Campbell contract on your hands that you have to now buy out.
Oh wow, Pittsburgh has a lot of draft picks. Good for them.
Yeah,
Tristan Jari making 5.375. You can see why it would be enticing for Pittsburgh. You send out a good goalie, you lose a couple more games, you do better on the rebuild, assuming they're still looking at that kind of trajectory and they're not planning on going for the playoffs after a hot start. They got Artur Silovs now, who is an RFA at the end of the season, so they kind of got a goalie going forward. Maybe not their, guy for the next decade, but they got a guy who can play the games.
They can get you through some, absolutely. And I don't think you'd have to give up much for Jari, because I think Pittsburgh would be happy if they could just move him, and you can move off from that contract that looked like it was going to be dead weight till the end of it. So, like, if you're Edmonton, it's a goalie that you don't have to pay much for, but you're taking on that full contract. And again, you got to make the money work for that. And if Jari goes in there and, if the same play is still shown in front of him that is in front of Skinner and he has a rough go and it doesn't work, now you're stuck with that contract. And I don't think I don't know. I don't know if you're Edmonton, I don't know if you can take that risk. I don't know if you can afford to have a bad contract like that lingering around when you've...
Money aside, which player would you rather have on your team for a playoff run? Darnell Nurse or Erik Karlsson? Obviously,
I would take Erik Karlsson.
Obviously, current day. Obviously, if we're talking peaks, it's not even a contract.
Yeah, I would take Erik Karlsson on that Oilers offense, or at least with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, because I mean, they shouldn't be shy to retain on that Karlsson deal, assuming they are allowed to, because San Jose is already retained on it. So I don't know if it's teams can't retain on contracts like that before the new rule came in, or if it's that they just can't do the trade all at once and, a guy gets retained on at his old team, even though he never played there. Assuming they could, Erik Karlsson, you'd only retain for 2 years, so Pittsburgh can stomach that. They're not against the cap, and they don't plan to be, or at least they shouldn't. So $5 million for Erik Karlsson for 2 years on Edmonton. Tristan Jari 5.3. So incoming is a little bit, 10.3-ish. You send back Darnell Nurse. That's 9.25.
Assuming he's willing to waive.
Assuming he's willing to waive. And Stuart Skinner, that makes the money work.
But then if
Skinner and Nurse for Carlson and Jari, with Carlson half retained for 2 years, and then the Oilers attach on. You probably consult Sid. Hey, do we want picks or do we want these kids? Do we want Savoy? What do we think?
That's probably be a first and a prospect, I imagine. Because
it would probably be the 27 first and Savoy. It probably wouldn't be both picks or both prospects. It would probably be one of both. Yeah,
because if you're Edmonton and you're trading that 2027 first, you have to now make sure you're getting into the playoffs.
Yeah,
because
and I think Pittsburgh has the leverage there that they can say make that unprotected. And it probably won't matter. They've got McDavid and Draisaitl. They're not going to be a bottom 5 team.
Because Edmonton, last year at the deadline, they traded the first round pick for Jake Wallman. But that first round pick, this year's first round pick, they made it top 12 protected. Yeah. However, if Edmonton moves their 2027 first round pick before the deadline, the 2026 first is now unprotected. So if things keep going the way it is for Edmonton, they end up with the 10th overall pick. If they don't move their first round pick next year, they can actually keep that. But if they move their 2027 first round pick and they still miss the plus and end up with the 10th overall pick, they lose that now. And that would go to San Jose.
Right.
So,
which, if you're Edmonton,
there's options for them.
You do not have to worry about finishing that low. Even if you do, that's just not something you can plan for. If you get extra trade value out of all your picks being unprotected, I think you just do that, because
you just do it.
Who cares if you finish bottom of the league? The goal is cup in 3 years or everyone in the front office is fired.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fear finishing badly. You have to fear not being the best. The bar is so high there that I think something like that might work.
Could definitely work, absolutely. We should probably move on from the Oilers here, and
we can move on from that. We've been talking about Darnell Nurse's contract for so long. I can't believe there's 5 years left.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Let's move on from the Oilers. Yes. Let's move on into another team. In the West still, do you want to hit us with the latest going on with the Avalanche here?
They're winning. They're winning a lot. They have won 10 games in a row, getting a shutout in last of their 3 last games against Nashville, Chicago, and San Jose. Some of the teams you might expect to get shut out more, so I guess there's that. But 10 in a row and 3 shutouts is pretty nasty.
Still pretty good.
The Avs are only the 3rd team in NHL history with 1 regulation loss or fewer through the first 23 games of the season. They would be joining the 79 to 80 Flyers and the 2012-2013 Blackhawks. Both of those teams won the President's Trophy that year and made the Cup final. The Blackhawks winning the Cup that year, and the Flyers losing only to the future Dynasty Islanders.
Bodes well for the Avalanche. Absolutely.
Yeah, speaking of teams where the bar is pretty high, I don't think the Avs would be happy with a Cup final loss. I think they want to win the Cup. Bad.
Absolutely.
And
it's
there are a lot of
100% a good enough team to do it. The way that they're, to win 10 games in a row in itself, but the way that they're winning, they can win the higher scoring games if they need to. They can just shut the other team out. They can win the lower scoring games if need be. It's a team that is so easy. They can adapt so easy. It's not like they go out and, to go back to Edmonton, but Edmonton's kind of got the mindset going out of, we got to go out there and win a shootout. We got to go out there and it's going to be a 6-5 game, a 7-5, 6-4. It's going to be a high scoring game. Colorado is, let's just go out there and play our game and we'll match what needs to be matched. And they pull it off perfectly.
Yeah.
10 in a row. Again, yeah, you've shut out your last 3 opponents. They're the best team in the league for a reason, and doesn't look like they're slowing down anytime soon.
You say that, but who are your let's go 3. Who are your top 3 hottest teams in the league right now? Who are going off? Obviously the Avs are one, free space. Who are some of the other top teams right now?
Minnesota.
Minnesota tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Avs Wild.
Okay.
10-game win streak versus I believe the Wild are on a 6-game win streak.
Tampa Bay's up there.
Tampa's up there. I think we just won our 5th in a row. Vasilevsky's been incredible as of late. I think he's up to a .918 save percentage on the year. But yeah, if anyone listening, which this will now be coming out, this episode will be coming out on the day that the game's happening. If it is not yet 1:30 p.m., I guess that would be Mountain Standard Time for us. Do yourself a favor and go watch that Wild Avs game, because that has got to be a good one. 2 Central Division teams. They kind of always had a bit of a rivalry going, never super heated, but these teams don't like each other. And they're, for my money, the 2 hottest teams in the league, at worst, 2 of the top 3. And the Wild, we were just talking last episode, they also have a bunch of shutouts as of late. Like,
so that's exactly what I was looking up now.
Playing here. Phenomenal.
So
it's going to be a good one.
The Avalanche are going to be going into that game, 3 shutouts in a row. It's expected that Jesper Wallsted's going to be in, who's got a shutout in 3 of his last 4 games.
And you've got...
That could be pretty damn exciting.
And you've got how many guys in there that are, odds-on favorites for... Like, each team has a guy probably in the top 5 at the start of the year in betting for the Art Ross Trophy. In, Nathan McKinnon, Kirill Kaprizov. Like, Cale Makar's in there. Like, this... They got some firepower on these teams, so I have no idea. It could end 1-0. It could end 6-5 in OT. Like, I have no idea how you'd begin to guess how that game's going to go.
All we can do is wait and see, because that'll be a very terrific game between them.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to come out shot like a cannon. They are going to play with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and again, like Minnesota, we kind of talked about them, where the start of the year they were kind of down there with Calgary, Nashville, St. Louis, like the bottom teams of the West, and
very similar to Tampa.
What you said, they just won
both
6 in a row.
Yeah, they're 6 in a row after their overtime win last night.
Yeah, and now they're up there. Yeah, Tampa's
2 days ago, maybe
way up there. It's it's because what's the stat, right? Because it's American Thanksgiving today, the day we're recording, so. Yeah. Shout out to all of our American listeners. Happy Thanksgiving to you. But it's something like 77% of teams that were in a playoff spot by American Thanksgiving going to make the playoffs. I don't think that's the case at all this year, because you look at how close all these teams are.
Yeah. No, you're completely right.
Like we're getting to a point, and again, this is kind of what, like, because right now, Colorado...
You're telling me the Leafs and the Panthers are missing the playoffs in favor of what? The Bruins? Like
Dallas, 34. And then New Jersey's 3rd in the league at 31 points. And again, you go down to... Well, you could even go Vancouver at 29th in the league, 22 points. It's not even a 10-point differential between 3rd in the league and 4th last in the entire league.
It's crazy how small of a win streak it has to be right now for you to go flying up these standings. Like, the Oilers are 3rd last in the Pacific, and if they win 2 games, they're tied with the Ducks for 1st. They're only 4 points back. Like, it's absolutely goofy how close it's been this year. As long as I've been watching the NHL, I don't remember it ever being this close, this far into the season. Like, by this point, we've usually got multiple teams that are way lower than the lowest are this year, and usually a couple higher than, maybe not where the Avs are, but usually they're, teams in second, third, and fourth are higher than what they are this year. So
yeah, and I know the NHL right now, as it stands at this point in the season, because again we're kind of like a quarter of the way through the season, is on track for the most overtime games ever.
it
And
makes a lot of sense.
kind
It
of
feels
starting
like
to
they're
see
happening
that
constantly.
why all these teams are so close together. And it's another big reason why, again, the NHL, we talked about last episode. If you want to hear that, go check that out. But we talked about the NHL, going to the 3-2-1-0 point system, like the PWHL does, because they're doing it right there. Because you have so many teams now that are just trying to get to overtime. If it's if it's a 2-2 game in the final 5 minutes, it's probably going to go to overtime unless there's a power play.
Yeah.
Because teams are so conservative and they're like, you know what? As long as we walk away with at least a point, we just got to get to overtime, get our 1 point, and we're good.
Yeah.
But if it was like the 3-2-1, you would have teams going all out to try and get that goal still, because 3 points is a big difference between, we lost in overtime, we only get 1 point. I get, because now that's a 2 point difference. And the standings would start to widen out a bit. Again, it's cool how close they all are right now. But it's because teams aren't necessarily playing to win at times. They're just playing to not lose in regulation.
Yeah.
And that can be a bit boring
wish I
sometimes.
could remember. I really wish I remembered which game I was watching. It was maybe a week and a bit ago. The Lightning game finished. I was done. I was like, hey, who else is playing? Some other team had a same start time, so they were like right near the end of their game, right? They had like 4 minutes left. And I really wish I could remember who was playing, because it was tied. And I think it was with about 2 minutes left. They did the thing where the defenseman stands there with the puck loosely on his stick behind the net. And it looks like the guys are going to loop around. They're going to start the breakout. They do the whole thing, right? And they loop around and he just stands there. And they looped around again. He just stands there. He stood there like the crowd's booing the fuck out of this guy. And he stood there for like 35 seconds before a guy finally forechecked and pushed him out. And I was like, he would have stayed there for the full 2 minutes. He totally would have done it. Like, what a absolute goon. Like, it makes sense. You'll guarantee your team 1 point. And maybe, I really wish I remembered the team, because maybe they were good in OT and confident that they could win it there. But I mean, there's a reason the crowd was booing. That's not fun hockey to watch, right?
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Like those final few minutes can be some of the best hockey you'll watch.
Yeah, it's can kind of almost have an overtime feel, because you get to that point. It's like next goal wins.
Yeah.
Usually if you score a goal to go up by 1 in the final 2 minutes, the other team's probably not scoring. And even if they do, then that's electric. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of feels like teams are just trying to get to overtime. They're trying to secure that 1 point. And that's why we're starting to see a logjam of so many teams. And it's going to have to take, again, like we mentioned last episode, a team like Seattle that should not, be in the playoffs, and they're playing quite well right now, and they get Jared McCann back, which I think is huge. Their best player. But if they make the playoffs over the Edmonton Oilers, because we just pushed more games to overtime and shootouts, we lost those games.
Yeah, they have like 5 less regulation. Wins. That looks rough. That looks rough.
Yeah, I think that would force the league to take a look at it. And but yeah, right. The point basically what I'm saying is that teams are trying to just get to overtime, and it's killing a lot of the momentum in close games when it's getting near the end of regulation time.
Every team's doing it as well. Like the bottom teams, the top team, we were just talking about how good the Avs are. The Avs, they're so good. They only have 1 loss in regulation. They've got 5 overtime losses. They aren't unbeatable. They just went 5 out of the 6 times they've lost this season, it's been in OT, which is kind of insane for a team that with the skill level that they have. You'd think they would own the extra frame, but if it ends up going to a shootout, those are basically always a crapshoot. It's impossible to tell who's going to win those. But yeah, it's. I'm just looking at the goal differential in the Central Division. It's gross. The Avs have plus 44, Stars 16. Then you got the Wild, Mammoth, Blackhawks, and Jets 5-2, 6-7. Those are all about even. Then you have the 2 bottom teams. You want to take a guess at what the Blues and the Preds are at?
Preds are probably at this point -30, Blues -25.
pretty freaking close. You got the Blues minus 25, Preds minus 26.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
I was just like, they're going to be down there.
Oh, yeah.
Again, yeah, been a rough go for both those teams. Actually, before we get into a little bit of Toronto talk, I might as well throw this in here because it was reported. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on it, and I'll give mine. Right. Because we know Nashville is kind of looking at potentially blowing things up. And apparently the asking price for Ryan O'Reilly right now is a first-round pick and an A-level prospect. What are your thoughts on that?
Sounds like a fair deal to me. I think a lot of people are going to think that's too high.
I'm right there.
But
I'm right with you.
When you're buying a guy at the trade deadline, and either he gets dealt at the deadline or you're basically paying deadline prices because you're just beating the rush if you buy on him in like December or January. Because teams, almost every team that makes the playoffs should be in on him at least a little. Yeah. And we've seen guys far worse than him command a first round pick. Like,
I can't pull it up here. What's O'Reilly's? Oh, maybe I can. Hold the phone. Maybe I can get it. So Ryan O'Reilly, he's making 4.5 this year and next year. 4.5 for
that's
a guy at the level of Ryan O'Reilly.
No trade protection. Anyone can have him.
And I've seen people say, "Oh no, why would any team do that? No team would do that." You know who would do that? The Colorado Avalanche. They literally did it last season. They gave up a first-round pick and an A-level prospect for Brock Nelson, who at the time was making more money than O'Reilly, and they had to give him an extension to keep him as well. I can't remember what the extension was. I don't think it's looking too great right now, but
I'm pretty sure I think it's 7.
If Brock Nelson, at the time on an expiring deal,
7.5,
went, and I think Brock Nelson's probably a bit better offensively than O'Reilly, but O'Reilly's way better defensively, so just say it's a wash. Yeah. At 4.5 this year and next year, that's worth a first-round pick.
Dude, you've
and
manifested
an A prospect, and maybe more.
The Avs are so picking this guy up. They weren't even one of the first teams I was thinking of, but they could use a good defensive guy. He's won a Conn Smythe in his past. He's good in the playoffs. Dog on a bone. He's won a Selke before, right?
Yes. I'm not necessarily saying that the Avs are going to go for him, but they're a team they're a team that's done it before. If they can make it work, and hell, even if you offer a first and a prospect, and Nashville says, throw in a third, we want a third. Okay, fine, absolutely.
Yeah, they're not going to miss that third. Like that's fine.
And there's certain teams that should be all in on O'Reilly and be more than willing.
Make it our next 3 thirds and retain half of his salary. Nashville should have no problem if they trade this guy. There's no reason that they shouldn't retain the full half. Now somebody's getting them for $2.25 million. 2 years of Ryan O'Reilly for $2.25 million is freaking nice for a guy who can. I mean, right now he's their first line center. Putting that on your second, probably a lot of teams on their third line as the centerman. That's filthy depth right there.
This is probably what I've liked out of Barry Trotz's tenure in Nashville the most. Is this coming out of what his asking price is? Because if he just said off just a first, O'Reilly would have already been traded.
Yeah.
A first for him all day, I would do that if I'm a team that's trying to win a cup. So I just want to get your take on that because I know a lot of people think it's a lot to pay, but I would gladly pay that.
Yeah, and it very much helps that he has 2 years left because it means you get him for 2 runs at the cup. Yeah. It's not a rental first round exit. He's gone. You get 2 full goes at it, and that's huge. Yeah.
Speaking of Toronto, though, I kind of threw him in there to shit on him, but now we can kind of shit on him. Do you want to hit us with what's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs, or what was at least for a brief second?
You're referring to them being bottom team in the entire Eastern Conference.
Not currently, but for a moment in time, they were.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not, congrats to them. They're not last in the entire conference, but They're 1 point ahead of the Sabres. That's it. They're second last in the entire conference. So
I'll just ask you straight, what does Toronto do? Or what's the issue with Toronto? How do you solve this? Did they maybe move on from the wrong guy, letting Marner go?
It sure looks like it right now, huh?
And I will say that is the tough part, is the whole thing. People are now saying you should have kept Marner, but it's like everybody was screaming Toronto needed to break up the core four. Marner was the guy who needed to go.
Yeah.
Could they use him right now? Absolutely, but they'd probably be second in the Atlantic and go at second round if they just tried to run it back. Like they did have to make a move, and Marner kind of was the guy to go. But where do they go from here?
They need a top defenseman, and we've known this for a bit. Morgan Rielly is, I think this is one of the first years where I'm hearing a lot of Leafs fans saying it. I think other people have said it a lot over the past few years, but Leafs fans have always been like, Morgan Rielly's the guy. They're starting to sour on him too now. And I think it's time that they move on from him, or at the very least, don't put him as this figurehead that he's been. And they need to find a new guy who can eat a lot of minutes, pray to God that he can run a power play. But that's one of the few things that Morgan Rielly's actually been good at.
Morgan Rielly's basically like a Devon Toews.
Yeah.
Can be a great top pairing guy, but you got to have the right guy and a guy that's better than him on that top pair.
Yeah.
Like
he hasn't even been running the top power play this year. I'm pretty sure it's OEL most of the time. Ekman Larsson's been killing it for him. Yeah, I don't know who the guy is.
Happen there? Like, do you move on from Craig Berube at some point this season?
I don't think so. I
don't know if they should. I'm just throwing different scenarios out there, and the one thing that is tough. I think
you would look at a new GM before a new coach, but GMs obviously have a much longer shelf life. Treliving's been there. He hasn't done a great job, but he also hasn't been there a super long time.
Well, and I didn't throw up the GM because it's hard to fire a GM mid-season and get a good replacement. Like, you're kind of just bringing a guy to just be like, get us through the rest of the season, and then we're going to go another way. But then,
if you're mid-season, you don't fire him with no plan. Yeah, you have to know. You have to have the guy like in your office, like, you're ready to sign as our new GM, right? Okay, you're fired. Sign here, please. Like, you need to have that guy ready. And maybe they've it's the Maple Leafs. They have so many guys getting paid to just have a Maple Leaf on their nameplate, right? Like, there's probably guys that could do a decent job at it, but people within the org obviously would know better than me if the right guy to be a GM would be currently there. But yeah, I don't even know who the defenseman is that they should go for, but they need someone.
And again, Toronto's at a point where you almost have to wonder, is their window starting to close? Because I do look at them, and I do think the Leafs are still a pretty good team, but you look at that D core, it's just getting older and older, man. Like Morgan Rielly, he's over 30. Brandon Carlo, I think, is turning 30. Tanev is 37.
Is Carlo that old?
36. Already? McCabe is over 30. OEL over 30. Like, all your defensemen are just continuing to get older. Anytime you make a move for defensemen, it's not like you're getting a young defenseman. So that doesn't help. The goaltending, we know, can be good, but so far this season has been rough. The forwards, you're not getting the production you need to be getting out of Austin Matthews. And if they want to make a trade, what do? You gave up everything going out and getting Ryan O'Reilly, who walked. You gave up a lot to get Jake McCabe, who's good, but it isn't the impact maker that was worth what you gave up. I still think he's a good player. Toronto really doesn't have much to give up now. All they got is Easton Cowan, and they said we're not trading him. So you kind of have to figure it out within that locker room, and I don't know for sure, but it's up to them in there to figure out if they can or not. But early signs are pointing to no. They've held on to the same group. Like I don't know the exact number, but basically their entire most of the roster this year is the exact same as last year, minus like a couple minor changes here and there.
Yeah, really all that they lost was Pontus Holmberg, Mitch Marner, and like one or two other fringe guys, I think. Like,
And then
I think they
brought
only
in
lost
Michelli and Waugh.
Michelli, Waugh. I'm not seeing any other new names. I guess Easton
And
Cowan.
you've kind of got Easton Cowan
because he came
coming up and down. Yeah.
But that's building from within, obviously. Yeah, they honestly, I feel like over the past 5 years, I've always at least had a stance with the Maple Leafs, whether I think they need to move on from a guy, they should stick with their guys, they should trade to beef up, they need to take a step back and trade things out. This is one of the first years in a while where I have no idea what the correct move is now. Like,
and this is what I will say. If the Leafs continue to trend downward and the season gets worse and worse, I'm not going to bash on them. I'm not going to, say that this total season's a failure and just rag on them, because you know what? At least they tried.
And that's one thing
year
I
after
can
year they were going
so
out
hard.
and
they went
even
balls
Scott
out.
Lawton, they gave up a first for at the deadline. Like, they've actively year after year been giving up their futures, and again, maybe their trades didn't work out, but at least they were trying.
They tried harder than the Avs.
At the moment, in times they looked like good moves, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out because they're whatever it is, whether it's Toronto isn't born to choke in the playoffs, or Austin Matthews can't get it done there, or they just run into great teams. At least they tried.
Yeah.
And I got to at least respect them for that, and I can't. So now they're at a spot where
it's been a long time since we saw a team do
dry.
what they did last year. Like, even teams like the Avalanche, we might lose Rantanen for nothing. They're not even at the deadline yet, and they sent out freaking Mikko Rantanen. Like, teams are so afraid of losing that value, and they said, no, you know what? And, Marner did say that he wouldn't accept a trade because of his no trade clause, but they were like, all right, let's buckle down, and he's not going anywhere. Let's try and freaking win while we have him. And you know what? They're the only people that took the champs to Game 7. Like, it's not what they want to hear, but they went for it. They shot their shot, and they got close.
Yeah. And I mean, then all you can do is kind of tip their hat to them and say, I mean, again, like it sucks that it, didn't work out the last years, but they did try, and I don't know necessarily where they go from here. Something has to be done, I think. If things continue, if they lose,
if they keep losing, then they just have to
next few
do their
games
best to retool.
Yeah,
that's all you can do. Like, Nylander and Matthews, like, Tavares, they've all got full no moves. So either they don't want to move, or they get to choose exactly where they go. You're not going to get fair value back trading for them. I think the owner fires anyone he needs to, who has the power to trade Matthews if those rumors go out, because that's just money just walking away from you. Like,
yeah. I do still throw out the idea of potentially moving on from Craig Berube. Again, I don't think where the team's at is Berube's fault. I still think he's a fantastic coach.
Sometimes the coach just
those
loses
changes
the room.
Just need to be made. And Peter DeBoer is out there, and I think Peter DeBoer actually would be a really good fit with Toronto. I think he would be a awesome fit. And again, if Berube's fired, I don't think it's his fault. I think it's a little bit unfair to him, but sometimes you just have to make those changes. That's just the way it goes. That's a part of the, look at Boston.
That's a very interesting that you brought up.
They fired Jim Montgomery. Was he a bad coach? Absolutely not. For me, he was top 5 in the league at the time, but
top 3 probably.
Yeah, but sometimes you just have to do those things when your season's potentially on the line. And for Toronto, it's not quite there yet, but you lose a few more and you start to drop into that where you're 8, 9, potentially 10 points below playoff teams,
below the wild card. Like,
Yeah, could be. You'd have to do something. I think.
Forgot
I
that
don't
Peter
expect
DeBoer
Toronto
was
to
out
just
there.
roll over and die.
Because
I think
we were
Toronto
kind of
will
expecting
fight until the end. So
we were expecting, or like in the offseason or like the preseason, that whichever team ends up firing their head coach first probably tries and picks him up. Depends,
well, because he got fucked, didn't he? Wasn't he the coach that got fired after like all the other coaching jobs got snagged up? Dallas waited until like Boston.
Oh, and Dallas 100% did that on purpose
to
stand behind their goalie, and they did him dirty. They waited until all the jobs got taken up, which was pretty early. They fired him, and then they didn't have to worry about firing him soon because they just hired from within. They hired a guy in their AHL system, so they did him a little nasty there. And
I still hold with it though. Whoever fires their coach first, Peter DeBoer will be heading there immediately. It's the same as Todd McClellan last year.
The only reason I would say I don't think that's 100% going to happen is because I don't know, like, say a low down team fires their head coach, right? Like, if Nashville does, I don't know if he really wants to coach that. If the Leafs do, I think he's like, I can turn that team around. I think there's,
I guess.
I think there's like 20 to 24 teams in the league where he goes, I can work with that. I'm going to make you guys stars. I think there's a couple of teams that are just too low down where he'd be like,
yeah, but I'm more so going off of like,
he's not a rebuilding.
Those teams at the bottom usually know that they're going to be there. Like it's only the teams like a Toronto that was supposed to be in the playoffs and finds itself at the bottom that they fire coach, like Nashville, Calgary, St. Louis. Like they're not firing their coach because they went in being like, we knew we were going to suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether we're sucking or we're doing good, like it's not the coach fault because look what we gave them.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't even say
I was more so going
San Jose, Chicago, or anything like that, because they're definitely not. Nashville's one of the only bottoming teams that I could see moving on from their coach, and even then, I don't think they're going to.
But I think they would have just done it in the offseason.
If Toronto is the first team to fire their head coach mid-season, yeah, I think Peter DeBoer is the obvious choice, unless they've got somebody else pegged for that job.
Yeah, absolutely. But enough of Toronto for now. Hopefully they can string a couple wins together and we can change the narrative around them this season. Another team in Canada, same province there, Ontario. What is going on with Ottawa here?
Brady Tkachuk is looking to come back. He's looking to return this Friday versus the Blues.
So tomorrow,
and it makes sense that he'd return versus the Blues because he's from St. Louis, correct?
Yeah, it's in St. Louis, so
makes sense that he'd want to do his return there. You always whenever it lines up with something perfect like that, you always wonder: is he coming back a game early? Is he coming back a game late? Maybe he wants that big return there, and he just an extra game of rest, no big deal, right? Either way, coming back, and Ottawa second in the Atlantic. They are only 2 points back of the Lightning for first in the Atlantic. 12-7-4 on the season. And they've done it largely without their captain and one of their best players.
Best player. Well, best forward, I guess, for me.
Schnitzel makes it an argument. I'd probably agree with you, though.
Yeah, but just for everything Tkachuk does, because you there's literally only one other guy like Brady Tkachuk, and that's Matthew Tkachuk. They're incredible.
I would have Tom Wilson in there. They hit, they fight, and Tom Wilson can score.
Yeah, I guess Tom.
There's not a lot of guys you can compare. I think he's in that very small conversation.
But I do remember when we heard the news of Brady Tkachuk going down, because I think it was his thumb. We said all we could really say is, for Ottawa, the best you can do is just try and hold on to being in the playoff race. Don't let yourself fall too far down and get out of it. Well, they've exceeded that. They're second in the Atlantic. If Tampa doesn't go on this heater that they're on, Vasilevsky playing out of his mind, Ottawa's top of the stacked Atlantic division, or was supposed to be a stacked Atlantic division.
Yeah.
So the team did just fine, and now you're getting Brady Tkachuk back, and that makes you instantly better for all the reasons. Yeah. It's just great news for Ottawa, and I think Brady Tkachuk's got to be pretty proud of what the team did in his absence.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I will throw out there, they have been playing very well, but goal differential on the season, +1. So
Yeah,
they're not
it's a
crushing
lot
a
of
lot of
close
these teams.
games.
They're,
But it's worth noting that
they're
they're
definitely
able to
winning.
win those gritty games, which is nice to see. You
Yeah.
do want to see them start to maybe build that up a bit more and start to produce offense consistently, but it is kind of cool to see for them that they're able to win those games you got to grind out right till the end. And
Yeah.
yeah,
One of
I think that's at least something to take away from that.
And still second in the Atlantic, and that is second in goal differential in the Atlantic. Lightning are at 13, the Sens are at 1, the Panthers and the Bruins are at 0, and then you've got -3, -7, -6, -8 for the rest of them.
Yeah.
So, even if it doesn't look that impressive, you got to compare it to the rest of the division a little bit, and still second best.
Yeah, great.
Only going to
great
get
news
better
for
with your
Ottawa.
captain back.
And the last little bit of news we got here, for NHL news at least, not a whole lot to say, but the Calgary Flames extend general manager Craig Conroy. Don't know for how many years, but that stuff usually doesn't come out very often for GMs. But we know Craig Conroy's sticking around in Calgary, and it's the right call.
Yeah, he's been great. He's not only made good moves, but also done them in a way where he has clearly sold the owner that this is how teams win. Despite, because every time the owner talks, he says, we're not doing a rebuild. We're not doing a rebuild. I'm not here for that shit. And then Conroy comes out and he goes, guys, we're not going through a rebuild, but we just acquired some draft picks for a player. Wink, wink. Like he's done a good job of both managing the team and the ownership, frankly, which especially in Calgary can be hard to do. They're one of those teams that has not fantastic ownership. So yeah, no issue with that. I did think it was very funny that the news of his extension broke about half an hour into the game versus the Lightning, where
just getting shit pumped.
Wolf got pulled after 3 goals on 4 shots. That game was wild because after that game, Wolf on like a lot of the stat tracking apps dropped out of where they show the stats until on like save percentage and goals against. But all of a sudden, Cooley was up at the top at a lot of them because I guess him playing that game got him over however many games played threshold you need to beat. And so in his few games, he's, like a 930 or something. So all of a sudden, he showed up as top of the save percentage, top of the goals against.
Yeah.
But either way,
overall, I love
great
extension.
extension.
Calgary, and I really can't add much more on that. Last segment here for news before we start to get into the wrap up for this episode. I'll just kind of let you take the floor at this one. A little bit of PWHL news.
Yes, sir. This one broke not very long before recording this. I think an hour or two. PWHL Executive Vice President Amy Shear said earlier today in an interview that the PWHL, she said it is expanding again next year. Now, where the maybe comes in is she doesn't know whether it's going to be 2 or 4 teams. So she said, I believe the quote was, if I was a betting woman, I would put it on 4. But either way, she says either 2 or 4 new teams after this season is over. And then if they do 4, they will be up to 12 and they're going to hold for a bit. If they do 2 this offseason, probably another 2 next offseason, and then they'll hold at 12 for a bit.
Yeah, I think it's good for the league, and I will say, absolutely, whenever you finish this part up, whether it's, you just go with 2 or you go with 4, you do got to hold it for a bit.
Yeah.
I know that, the league is obviously very successful. It's taking off, but you need to create some foundation, I think, within the league. And that comes from, if there's a player that plays for Ottawa and they want to stay with Ottawa, let the league run for a bit and let teams start to build up that pedigree and
bit of a pedigree, bit of history.
It would be awful. I think they have to just do 4 at once, because that would really suck to do to this year and then to the following. Because the way and maybe they'll rework how they do the expansion draft. But that would suck to be a player on Ottawa, and it's like you want to play for Ottawa. It's like, oh, you got claimed by Vancouver. Okay, now I get to go to Vancouver. You start selling. Okay, you know what? I like it here. All of a sudden, oh, you now get claimed by Dallas. We'll say maybe Dallas gets a PW team, and it's like, okay, I'm selling Dallas. Oh, now you're getting claimed and you're going to Winnipeg or something.
Yeah.
Right. Like that would just be kind of frustrating that you're constantly getting bounced around. It's like you want to just settle down because again, like they're still human beings, and it's not easy to just uproot your life over and over and over again. And you want some of these teams to start to just build up some legends there and have some strong history early out of the gate.
And you want to be able to give people something to latch onto a little bit. What if you want a Philippe Poulin jersey, a Sarah Nurse jersey? Like, are you going to get that, or are you just going to get the team jersey and the back blank because you're not sure if they'll get taken in the expansion draft? Because, I definitely think they need to redo how they do the expansion draft this next go around, just because it felt a little too strong for the expansion teams. I think there's somewhere that's a middle ground between how they did it and how the NHL did the last one, where they can get a good competitive team out the gate without taking most of the best players from most of the other teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think 12 is a really good number. Like, I hope that is the number that they do land on and stay there, because I think that's perfect for the league. And again, you kind of just want to start to know the league for what it is and not constantly have these new teams coming in and and then especially if you're a newer fan, it's kind of hard to maybe get attached to a team. You start cheering, you became a fan this year and you start cheering for Minnesota. But then it's like all of a sudden next year, it's like, oh, my 4 favorite players are just gone now.
Yeah, like that.
It can be hard to draw new fans and get to stick with a team when they start to like these players. It's just like, oh, all my favorite players are just going and they're all going to these other teams. And, because again, there's the fans like us that it's like, but trying to get those newer fans in, which I think this league is great for, it can be a little bit tricky if it's constant changes. So I would like to see 4 this year, and then I think you just hold it at 12 for a bit and start to let the league just build up. Yeah, because it's going in the right direction. Yeah, absolutely.
Get it to that point where people are going, please give us another team, and then they're like, yes, here you go.
Yeah, now
at that point, it's either going up to 14 or it's probably going up to 16 at that point. Like, I definitely see this. I don't think, it's obviously way too early for it, but who knows how long it might take, if they'll ever even get to something like 30, 28, 32. But for where they are right now, they can definitely use the more teams.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've asked you. I've definitely 100% asked you this before, but do you have a team that you cheer for in the PWHL?
Kind of. I like both Ottawa and Minnesota. Those are kind of the two that I was kind of rooting for out of the gate. I don't know. Maybe if there's a new expansion team that that I like, I think that
Frankly, I had a couple that I liked. I liked a lot of the players that the Toronto Scepters had. Poulin is just a Canadian icon, so cheering for the Victoire is always easy. I believe she's their captain, right? And but no, ever since they showed up, I'm all in on the Vancouver Golden Eyes. Their team has been so fun. Their logo is sick. Like, their jerseys are great. Pencil me in the PWHL. I'm a Golden Eyes fan.
Yeah, so see, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I'm kind of in a tough spot because, like, initially I was just rooting for like Minnesota and Ottawa, but now it's like I don't think as much as I kind of want to, I don't think I can fully just be like, I'm a Minnesota fan because they just won back to back, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think I'll always have a soft spot for Minnesota, but I don't know if I can fully be like that's my team, because it's like, I missed the jump to hop on that wagon. Now it's the train's left the station, so I don't think I've officially picked a team. Maybe I'll wait. I mean, if a team goes to Winnipeg,
You're going Winnipeg first? That's what you're saying?
That might just do it for him. No, I'm saying if they do, because I don't think they're gonna bring one to Alberta. I don't know. I just kind of got that thing.
Not
that
even
I don't,
Calgary.
I don't know
You're saying not in Alberta?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think Alberta gets one before Winnipeg.
I mean, potentially, but I think the majority is probably going to go down to the States. I think the States are going to get, if it's like Forkman, I think it's probably a 3-to-1 ratio.
I think it's more of a 2-to-2. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be so much easier for this league to get traction in Canada. Like,
but the markets are way bigger down there. Markets are way bigger down there.
But they're looking to play in the big arenas, right? I have a tough time imagining them consistently selling out in as many of the American markets as, like, if they get a team in Calgary, Winnipeg, Edmonton, like Quebec City, at least the first few seasons they're selling out those arenas. Like,
they got to start moving like more south. Like, you got to get teams more in the southern part of the States. I think that's kind of what they're going for. They want to be.
I feel like that's going to be after this next expansion, because I feel like they don't want to introduce that level of travel. I think that's why they started so, kind of original six. Like, they started over in that eastern, summer in Canada, summer in the States, but it was very condensed. And now they've expanded to Seattle and Vancouver, obviously.
Like, I'm all for it if Alberta gets. I just don't think within this next one. I don't think that they'll be.
It's hard to tell. Who knows? Maybe it'll be based out of Calgary, but it'll be, the Alberta somethings. Maybe it'll be one of the situations where we have one team for the province and something like that.
We got some more. Saskatchewan. No, they don't have an arena. No.
Dude, they should build one. Get a bunch of farmers together and build a sick arena.
That would be pretty cool.
I want a Saskatchewan team in the NHL so bad, and it'll take forever to happen.
Yeah, not in our lifetime.
No, when I'm 80, they're going to build a franchise.
It's nice to dream. But I think we are now at the point here where we can move on into our final segment.
I have one quote here because I want to talk about this because I thought it was funny when I read it. This was from Michael Bublé. He was on I believe a morning show or a radio show earlier this week. And I know you already read this, but I imagine you got a kick out of it because I know you're not a big fan of Frank Saravalli. But Michael Bublé was asked about Saravalli's reportings on the Canucks earlier. And he said, if Frank Saravalli is a Canucks insider, then the 40-year-old virgin is a porn star. Which...
Good. Fucking cook Saravalli.
It's funny on so many levels because normally when you see the celebrities talk about hockey or any sport, really. It's very surface level. It's go my team. This guy is talking, first of all, made a hilarious analogy, but also he's talking about, he's like dissing on Saravalli being a Canucks insider. He watches hockey. He's probably hanging out on Twitter or Reddit or wherever talking about the Canucks. Like, he's clearly in on it, right? Which is always fun.
And so I thought it was a great statement. I know some people are dogging on Bublé for it, but I stood with him. I'm like, this is funny.
That's fun.
You're calling out the perfect guy. Like, if he called out like Elliot Friedman or someone else, I'd be like, yeah, that's wrong. But like Frank Saravalli, torch him. He called
out the perfect guy to be like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. He's not just saying
exactly. I got a kick out of it, and I absolutely loved it. But we're at that time now where we're moving on into the final segment. We got a game here.
Hell yeah.
And guess what we got today?
Categories.
No, we got a new game. We got a new one.
How am I supposed to guess it then?
It's kind of a game, but it's also like, it is a game because it forces you, and maybe you at home, if you want to play. We can't hear you, but you can play. It forces you to stay on your toes. You got to be ready, and you got to be quick. Okay. All right, because what we've got today, actually, I'm ready up here where I can read this shit better. So, I haven't decided what we're going to call it yet. I haven't decided if it's going to be buy or sell or buy or bail. So I'll let you decide. You can either say
buy or bail.
You can either
the alliteration sounds good. B and B, buy and bail.
B and B. So I think I've got 7 or 8 here. I made sure that it was either 7 or 8, so I would say that. So basically, I give you a scenario, and you just have to decide whether you're buying that or you're bailing on that, and you can give your reasoning with one sentence.
Okay.
So I'll just throw something out, and you either say, "Yeah, I'm buying that. I'm on that train. I believe in that," or "I'm bailing on it. I'm not going with that." And then you just one sentence to give your reason why.
Okay, so these are all going to be unrelated things, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These are different scenarios that just stand on their own.
All right. I like it.
And then there's no back and forth. You just give your reasoning, and that's it.
And
Just to
that's
get
it.
your thought on what's going on and what you believe and what you don't believe in.
Okay, I like it.
All righty. Kicking it off here, the Edmonton Oilers will make the playoffs and reach the 3rd round.
I am buying that. They do this every year. They fail early in the season. They always suck before American Thanksgiving. They're ruining that stat for a lot of people. They always come back. They're going to make it better, and they're going to easily make the playoffs. 3rd round's a bit of a stretch. Strong conference, but McDavid's going to go 2.5 points per game.
I like it. All right. The Toronto Maple Leafs fire Craig Berube this season.
Bail. I don't think they do it. They don't like paying too many coaches at one time.
That's a good point. The Colorado Avalanche finish with less than 8 regulation losses on the season.
Bail. They're going to hit double-digit losses. Like they're doing great, but come on. Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood are not putting up shutouts every night for the rest of the year.
Fair.
I think they're going to win the Presidents, though.
The Vancouver Canucks trade Quinn Hughes this season.
Fuck me, the way they're talking.
Bail. Fuck.
The city of Vancouver can't handle it. They don't have the infrastructure ready to deal with that amount of fire.
That's actually a very good point. That's a very solid point right there. The Carolina Hurricanes take a major swing on a big name player who ends up leaving.
Bail. They already locked in Nikolai Ehlers.
Do you think they've learned their lesson? Okay.
I think they're just scared of doing it.
I'm kind of with you. You got all this cap and whatnot, but didn't work out the last 2 times. Well, actually, did kind of work out the second time, but
not a ton of big name players to buy on, really. A lot of extensions getting handed out.
How nasty would Philip Forsberg be there, though? Just saying.
Oh.
Matthew Schaefer wins the Calder as him and the Islanders get back into the playoffs. What are your thoughts there?
Bail. The Islanders are not making the playoffs. I do think Schaefer wins the Calder, though. I think he's going to win it. And frankly, I think he's going to run away with it.
He doesn't get him.
Bo Horvat can't keep this up. Surely. I keep waiting for his fall off, but you know what? To his credit, we're at American Thanksgiving and he hasn't yet. But for now, I'm going to bail on it.
You got 2 left here. The Ottawa Senators finish top 3 in the Atlantic Division and make it to the 2nd round of the playoffs.
Take a quick look at the division. Who do they have to beat?
Tampa, Florida, Toronto, Detroit. They're getting up there. Starting to look good.
Yeah, I buy on that. I think they're making the playoffs, and I think they're going to get to and then probably go out in the 2nd round.
Okay. So you're right in on that. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's exactly where they should be.
And to wrap it up here, the Nashville Predators blow it up this season and enter their official rebuild. Is this the season they pull the trigger on it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm buying that. I wouldn't have 2 days ago, but with Barry Trotz saying we're looking at shopping Marchessault Stamkos and this is the asking price for O'Reilly. They're clearly looking to make the moves, and
he's open to it if the right offers come in. Yeah.
unless he just plays such hardball that he ends up not pulling the trigger on any deals. Yeah, it looks like he finally realizes the situation he's in. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm right there with you on that one.
They have a lot of good players. It's crazy they're this bad, man. It's crazy they're this bad.
Yes. I can't even pinpoint what the problem is. I think it's just a mixture of so many things at this point that
if they won the cup last year, I wouldn't have been that shocked. Like,
yeah.
Like
I mean, I had them winning the division going into last season.
I think I had them at least top 2. I might have had them winning it. They made the playoffs. They have that elite goalie. They had that elite number 1 defenseman. And then they went out and got all these absolute killers.
Yeah.
And they just crumbled. I don't know. When people are talking about bizarre intangibles per 60, this is probably what they're talking about. Whatever they don't have in Nashville, it's probably that.
Yeah.
Because it's something I can't see.
But that was our new game we're bringing over to the program here. Buy or bail is what we're going to go with. But
love it.
We are at that time now. We are at the end of the episode. So if you liked what we had today, if you want to let us know your thoughts on the episode here, or if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to discuss, you can do so at any of our socials or on the YouTube comments.
Yes.
There's no games today, but we got 15 games tomorrow, starting early in the morning and running through the day. So that'll be a lot of fun. But Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Great game, Brundy. I like that. I always love a game where I can't outright lose. There's no lose condition. So that saves me from embarrassment right before we go off the air. But to everyone who's still listening, thank you for listening all the way through, and do yourself a favor and watch that Minnesota versus Avalanche game that, as you guys would be listening to this, will be happening today, because it's the 2 hottest teams in the league right now, going head to head. Tons of shutouts between them. Something tells me it's not going to be a low scoring game either.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute fantastic game.
Yeah.
But one final time, that is it for this episode. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we'll see all of you lovely people out on the ice next week.